Dismantling stereotypes. The movie I chose from the IRS module was Breathe. This is a 2017 film based on a true story that's set in the 1950s. Robin, the main character, contracted the poliovirus disease, and the movie follows his journey as he fights this disease and overcomes trials and tribulations. With the help of his wife Diana, her family, and his son, this is a compelling story. What is poliomyelitis? Polio, according to the Department of Health, is a viral disease which may affect the spinal cord, causing muscle weakness and paralysis. According to the Department of Education, polio is categorized as an orthopedic impairment, which is a severe neurological, muscular, skeletal abnormality that impedes mobility, which prevents the child from receiving reasonable educational benefit from the general education. A virus called poliovirus causes polio. According to the Mayo Clinic and the CDC, the virus enters the body through the mouth or the nose, getting into the digestive and respiratory systems. It multiplies in the throat and intestines. From there, it can enter the bloodstream. It can also attack the nervous system, the nerve network that helps the brain communicate with the rest of the body. Poliovirus is very contagious, and a person can transmit it even if they aren't sick. The virus goes person to person in two ways. People with a poliovirus in their bodies shed the virus through their feces. This virus can then spread to other people when they swallow contaminated food or water. This exposure is more likely in areas that have poor hygiene or weak systems to clean water. A person can also pick up the virus after someone sneezes or coughs. If you get droplets of an infected person's phlegm or mucus in your mouth or nose, you can become infected. Symptoms are seen as soon as 6 to 20 days with a range of 3 to 35 days, according to the Department of Health. From the CDC, most people who get infected with poliovirus, about 72 out of 100, will not have any visible symptoms. About 1 out of 4 people with a poliovirus infection will have flu-like symptoms that include sore throat, fever, tiredness, nausea, headache, and/or stomach pain. These symptoms usually last 2 to 5 days and then go away on their own. More severe symptoms that affect a smaller percentage of individuals include paresthesia, which is a feeling of pins and needles in the legs, meningitis, infection, the covering of the spinal cord and/or brain. This occurs in about 1 out of 25 people. Or paralysis, where you can't move parts of the body. This can also be weakness in the arms, legs, or both. This is very rare and occurs in about 1 out of 200 people with a poliovirus infection. The movie's depiction of the symptoms include the following. Robin is seen hula hooping and collapses. Shortly after, he has difficulty breathing and difficulty walking. He's seen grimacing in pain and is quoted to say that he has a weak arm. Suddenly, he can't move his legs and he collapses. The next scene is him laying in the hospital bed where he cannot breathe without the help of a respirator. Because of this, he cannot talk due to air not reaching his larynx. The movie explains contracting the poliovirus through inhaling droplets of air the same way you catch a cold. It passes into the bloodstream and the central nervous system and attacks a big group of cells in the spinal cord. The movie has said, quote, "You become like a rag doll. You cannot move anything from the neck down or breathe from yourself. Paralysis is irreversible. Doctors gave Robin 3 months to live." They also depicted emotional side effects, such as the temporary depression. Robin is seen saying that he wants them to let him die, and he does not want to see his wife or kids. He had to mouth in order to talk and eventually had to learn to swallow. The movie did a good job portraying the symptoms, especially the fast onset symptoms, and explained the poliovirus accurately. At the time, in the 1950s, polio had become one of the most serious communicable diseases amongst children in the United States. In 1952 alone, nearly 60,000 children were infected with the virus. Thousands were paralyzed and more than 3,000 died. Hospitals set up special units with iron lung machines to keep polio victims alive. This is where we initially saw Robin in the movie. Hayes and Beck from Troubling Signs. These films do not explore the disability itself. The disability only figures into the plot or the character development as a device that allows narrative to unfold. In Hollywood films, the disability is used to unfold confinement as the key element of the plot. This is seen throughout the movie as they explain the brief side effects of poliovirus. However, they do not go into the disability more so. Locke stereotypes about people with disabilities is said the successful handicapped person is superhuman, triumphing over adversity in a way which serves as an example to others. The impairment gives disabled persons a chance to exhibit virtues they did not know they had and to teach the rest of us patience and courage. The burden of disability is unending. Life with a disabled person is a life of constant sorrow, and the able body stand under a continual obligation to help them. People with disabilities and their family, quote, noble sacrificers, are the most perfect objects of charity. Their function is to inspire benevolence in others, to awaken feelings of kindness and generosity. This is seen especially with the relationship between Robin and his wife. Specifically, when Robin had the conversation with his wife about her having other suitors and her rejecting the idea. She was by his side the whole time, and during the movie, it's seen as she is a great sacrificer. Longmore on page 140 said, segments about disabled people in magazine shows, news, and broadcasts frequently focus on the medical and technological advances. They also present human interest stories about individuals with disabilities performing some physical feat to demonstrate that they are not handicapped, only physically challenged. One can argue that these features demonstrate that medical and technological innovations are increasingly neutralizing physical impairments and that they, in the human interest stories, show that attitudes rather than disabilities limit people. This is seen with the introduction of Teddy Haw, the character that invents the tools that help Robin, such as the invention of the headbill, the wheelchair, or the hydraulic lifting machine. Furthermore, we see this with Robin's go-lucky attitude. This is portrayed as a human interest story when he becomes an advocate and is a spokesperson for polio. Effects on the individual. For portraying a disability, this movie does a good job at depicting an accurate representation of poliovirus and the effects. It is a compelling, moving story that has many emotional scenes, especially with Robin saying, I've accepted the risk of dying. I don't want to survive. I want to live. An individual who watches this movie might reflect on their own stereotypes they've had against individuals with disability, and it might elicit more of a research and compassionate background. Those who have disabilities might strongly feel for the movie, except for the love interest in the part where Robin has a positive attitude for the rest of the movie. While it does show suffering, it does not show an accurate reflection of feelings portrayed of those that have poliovirus. It just depicted sadness and depression when he was initially diagnosed with this. Overall, there aren't many movies that accurately depict disabilities. When searching for movies to watch initially, many of the movies were categorized as horror, where those of the disability are often seen as the victims to some horrendous crime or being chased. Or movies are often heartbreaking. While this movie had very many heartbreaking scenes, it was inspiring overall. Learning experience. I had little to no background knowledge on the poliovirus and the devastating effects that it caused. I just knew that it was extremely rare, that there were vaccines, but I didn't have any assumptions. After researching and reading, I now have a new understanding of the poliovirus. And applying to my practice as a teacher, just in general, I think it is important to research disabilities and to look at students first before looking at the disability. People should not be defined by their disability. And you should still have high expectations and regard them as human and nothing else. Thank you.